Hey everybody, this is Chelsea Shaffer.
And Caitlin Gustov.
And this is The Score, the official podcast of the sport of team roping. This is the Team Roping Journal's semi-weekly podcast highlighting the team roping industry's top talents and influencers through stories that inspire and connect ropers. We sit down with ropers from the professional ranks as well as industry icons and producers to delve into topics that make the team roping world tick. This is season 2. It will feature even deeper interviews, storytelling, and issue-based coverage, and we are so excited you're here. Before we get started, we've got to thank our sponsors at Fastback Ropes. They're presenting this week's episode, and they just launched a new rope, the Cobalt. Similar in diameter to the Excalibur, this rope will appeal to ropers who prefer more tip weight and less body or bounce, and we'll tell you more about it later in this episode. If you can't wait, head on over to fastbackropes.com and check it out. Here's my first memory of Brock Hanson. It was a few weeks before he made his first appearance in the Thomas & Mack back in 2012. I didn't know much about much at the time, but my boss had written a column of NFR team roping predictions, and I was the one who was responsible for posting it on Facebook. In those predictions, he mused that no first-time NFR qualifier had ever won the world in the team roping, which regrettably wasn't true. So he ruled out Brock and his then partner Ryan Moats right off the bat, right there in print. Cue the backlash. Holy moly. Brock and Ryan have some really loyal fans because they're really good guys, and folks were mad. I ducked and dived and dodged bullets right up until round 1 of the NFR. And admittedly, my boss, who was about as good and honest as they come and just made a mistake, he talked to Ryan about it and sure enough apologized. Okay, so Brock and Ryan, this is round 1 of the 2012 NFR, they showed us. They won the first round of that year's finals. They won the 5th round, and they finished 4th in the average and placed in a couple more rounds. They didn't win the world, but they had a really good finals, and in the case of those predictions that a lot of guys use to make maybe their pro fantasy rodeo teams, they would have been a heck of a pick that year. I like to think that Brock's forgiven me at this point, 7 years into our working relationship. Since then, he's headed for Corey Kuntz and Cesar De La Cruz and Ryan Moats again, and now he's healing for Colorado's J.B. James. He's had a son, Silver, with his wife, Teray, and he's made some great horses on both ends along the way. Lots of guys can rope both ends, but Brock's kind of made an art of it. That's really what I wanted to talk about him on this episode of The Score. He's a 2-time Colorado High School Rodeo Association healing champ, but of course he made his first finals heading. I really hope you enjoy his perspective on this kind of fun topic. A lot of people like to switch ends. Sometimes they do it more often than others. But I think what Brock has to say is really valuable, and I hope you enjoy it. Quick note before you all start into this episode, and I think I'll say it as well in the interview, Brock and I have our kids with us while we're doing this interview, and so it gets a little creative. So Caitlin did a really good job of taking a lot of mommies and daddies out of it, but hang with us because occasionally we can't cut out all the kids. Thanks. Morning, Brock.
Good morning.
So, to start off, you did ask me if you needed to wear a hat and shirt and everything for this, so you're not a podcast fan, I guess?
Right.
Awesome. So good. I like it. It seems like most Cowboys are not podcast fans until they are on The Score, and then they get hooked on podcasts.
Yeah.
And we're also parenting at the moment, too. So if any of our listeners hear a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old demanding something, we apologize.
Can I see something on...
Do you want to say something? Go ahead. Say hi, Brock.
Hey, look.
Okay, go play with Silver. So, Brock, there's a couple things I really wanted to talk to you about because this episode is about switching ends.
Okay.
And we're going to do an article in the magazine about switching ends, too.
Okay.
So, you always roped both ends as a kid, right?
I did. When I grew up heading, and my brother always healed for me. And then through the junior rodeos, he was just old enough that he advanced to the age group. And he advanced to the next age group, and I needed a partner. So I was going to rope with Luke Lancaster because our families were close families, and we both headed. So that's when I switched to healing. and then I heeled for a long time. But yeah, growing up, I had always headed and heeled, and then when I kind of started riding outside horses and stuff, you head and heel both. So yeah.
So does switching ends now come from maybe like losing interest or being frustrated with one, or?
Though I like to do both. At the time I had heeled, and the first time I switched and went to heading, I thought there was guys that heeled better than me. There was a lot of guys that heeled better than me, and there's sure enough a lot of guys that headed good, but there was, I don't know, I guess in my opinion there was, 6 or 8 guys that were kind of more of a dominant style, whether it was jackpotting or the fast one-head rodeos, those guys had a chance to win something. Man, there's 6, 8, 10 guys who are really good when there's 30 guys that are going to get 2 feet if they get them turned fast enough. So if I was going to kind of dedicate myself or work hard in a direction, I like my odds of getting somebody better if I hit it. So that's how I made my decision, and then shortly figured out I seen why there was only 8 or 10 guys, because it was a lot harder than what I had expected. Mm-hmm. But I said I was committed and kind of went that direction. Mm-hmm. And horsepower is huge on both ends, but heading especially. And horsepower's different for different guys. It took me a while to learn that. I always thought you had one that scored perfect and could run and do everything, where some of the guys, they might not need one that's quite as fast, because they look for different things in different horses, and I learned that kind of the hard way, where I thought I needed a specific horse, and that's hard to learn too, is what fits the individual. Mm-hmm. But horsepower is a big thing, head and heeling both, but especially heading, you've got to have a good head horse.
And so last year you headed.
Last year I headed for part of the year for Ryan.
Yeah.
And did good. Kind of had a pretty good winter, and then spring and summer we kind of just plugged along there, and had a couple tough breaks that weren't really our decision. There's a call at Cheyenne that could have been a huge one, and it wouldn't have been so bad if it was a normal rodeo or whatever, but a big rodeo like that, kind of the chunks, and I ended up deciding to go home and stay home. And Ryan went to the Northwest and did great, roped with Coleman, and they've obviously had a great year this year too, so it worked out really good.
I guess at the professional level, it's not just as easy as pulling out a couple practice horses and going when you switch ends. It is a massive undertaking to find head horses again, then find heel horses again.
Yes, it is. It's really big. Usually a horse kind of goes with a partner. I mean, if you got good horses, usually have a good partner. The guys who kind of struggle on the head horses, you got to figure the guy you're roping with. It's a team deal. So if you're heeling, obviously you don't own them, but it's like, hey, that's your head horse too. Whatever head horse is on the team is on the team, and same with heel horses. So when you're looking at a partner, it's more than, hey, can this guy rope good? Mm-hmm. There's a ton of guys that rope good. I mean, that's not even a question anymore. It's, hey, can they keep their horses going? Do they have a good enough horse? Can they manage the downtime? There's a lot more to picking a team member than just, do they rope good?
When you switch ends at a professional level, how long, aside from putting the horsepower together, how long does it take to put to get on point again, or to start heeling good, or to start heading good?
I think a lot of it has to do with experience. If you know what it takes, like you've seen the guys like Tyler Magnus and J.D. Yates, they've done it forever, and they know what it takes. And I think you get to a certain spot where you're like, hey, I know when I'm ready and when I'm not. And when I first started last year, I don't think I was quite ready. And the bad part is you find that out the hard way. Obviously, you think you're ready, but those guys, when you've done it a couple times or something, you know what it takes. And, yeah, I'm good enough right now, or no, I'm not. And you can go to the jackpots. I think, like I said, when you get to where you rope good, competition's the only thing that's going to make you sharper. So you've got to be somewhere where you can go and compete and kind of measure yourself against the guys who are the best. And advance from there, and you got to be realistic with yourself. You see some guys who they rodeo all year, and it's like, man, you needed to make some changes, and then it's like at the end of the year, then we're going to make some changes. Well, you lost all year. You should have made these changes before. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a lot of it is being realistic with yourself and know, hey, when I'm ready and when I'm not.
When you're heading, who do you look to for advice?
You know, I've got a couple guys who I don't want to say I trust or believe, but that score similar or some people that I can read, that, I'm obviously a big fan of like Luke Brown, and when Travis Trine was going, I could follow Travis scoring really good. So if, like, there's been a couple times where some rodeos when I was maybe first or second out, and if I was second out and he watched the first team when I rode in the box, I could ask him what the start was, and it worked great for me because I had complete confidence in him, and I scored similar. So it was great for me to score that way. I scored to the pin and he scored to the pin. You learn the measurements difference with the guys who score around the end, kind of what the difference measurements are. So I learned that as well. But there's certain guys that, hey, they score similar, they see things similar. Tanner Baldwin scores around the end, or scores to the pin, but scores different than me. But he's the same way. I can ask him what he's seeing, and I think Tanner scores great, and I follow him pretty good on trying to see a start and stuff like that as well. And then the other thing I think too is you got to find someone who's similar style. I mean, if you're a reacher, you're not going to go ask somebody who runs to the hip for advice or their opinion, because it's completely different the way they do it.
And when you're healing, who do you look to? Is there somebody that you kind of try to emulate, or whose style you?
There's a handful of guys. I really studied like Colin a lot because I think Colin's such a good horseman, and he's good with his rope.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of him, and I always ask him. He probably gets tired of me asking questions and stuff, but he takes it really good. But yeah, I study Colin a lot, and yeah, there's several guys. The guys that are hard is the guys like Junior. It's like, gosh, he's incredible. It's like, I don't know that.
Yeah, how did he do that?
Yeah, how did he do that? It's hard. I like Jade and Clay Cooper, the guys who look the exact same, whether they were four flat or they're roping in the practice pen. Their posture and everything's so calm and clean. I try to look for that because if they can do it over and over and over, it helps to make me think, well, maybe I can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Back when you were a kid, how did you go back and forth in the practice pen? Did you spend, what was the actual practice like? Did you have head horses and heel horses? And
no. When we were growing up, I wanted to heel, and when I was young, I couldn't heel. My job was to head, and we each I had one horse, and my brother had one horse, and we were real fortunate. The horses that we had lasted us a long time, and you could head, heel, and rope calves on both of them. They come from Robbie Schroeder, and they were incredible horses. You could do whatever you kind of wanted to do, and they were good at kind of the level we were at when we were kids because they would take care of us. But as we advanced, those horses were capable of so much more than we kind of ever knew. But no, it was when I headed, it was just headed. You might get to heel 2 or 3, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't say more of a reward, but no, we didn't jump around. It was if you couldn't rope and not mess up heading, then why are you even going to try heeling? Because you're not good enough to head yet, So no, I didn't get to kind of bounce around and go back and forth until I was kind of in college. It was either I headed or I heeled, and that was that. There was no jumping around. No jumping around.
Your rope handling, though, obviously you had to. Was it just roping in the arena that you developed the rope handling skills that you have to jump back and forth, or?
I liked to rope. Growing up, I didn't. I remember one time my parents asked us if we wanted to go. I forget what it was. Maybe it was on a vacation to, I don't know if it was Disneyland or something like that, and my brother and I both were like, well, can't we go? When on the western slope, Tanazi's had a barn in the winter. That was the only place you could rope, and it's like, well, what if we don't go? Can we go to the roping instead? That was all I ever wanted to do. I played baseball just a little bit when I was really little and played peewee football just a little bit, but after that, I just wanted to rope. I wasn't interested in much else. So I roped all the time. I had a handful of good buddies that we all roped, and we could rope goats or whatever, we were all kind of family friends, and we spent a lot of time that's all we did. We roped goats or roped
Yeah.
a dummy or roped steers. That's all I really wanted to do.
Goats.
So we're sitting here, and Silver, your son, is 3,
He's
almost
3,
4,
Yes.
and he has been playing with his fast lane and his rope the whole time. Is he? Do you see it already that he's going to be that way? Do you think he's going to care?
I haven't pushed him much at all. Usually if I was roping the dummy, he'd grab his rope and play with it for just a few minutes and then lose interest, and he'd play with his tractors and stuff. And he's got to be around some of his buddies who are roping, and the last probably 2 months, he's come a long ways. He's a little bit hard-headed, like he always wanted to swing it backwards. And if I would try to help him, he'd clam up. He didn't want help. And he learns more or does better watching other kids than if I help him. So he watches them, and then he's swinging it forward and getting where he throws it. And he's come a long ways the last probably month or 2 of wanting to do it more.
Do you have a plan as far as how you want him? Like you said, you haven't pushed him yet. Is there gonna? Are you?
You know, I don't know what to do. I think now the way the sport is, it's like for the kids to be great, it's like, what's the incentive? I mean, this is one of the few sports. The better you get, the worse it is for you. You know, I mean, if you're 17 or 18 years old and you're a number 9 healer, what are you gonna do? You know, you can't go to the World Series with the age cap, and they're numbered roping. So the minute you turn 18, if you rope good, you've got to go against the guys who are doing it for a living. You know, that sucks for them.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. It's almost like if you didn't start roping until you were 18 or 19, and by the time you were 21, you were a number 4, number 5, and you could go to all the World Series and stuff like and all the jackpots, like that's a much better gig, you know. I mean, you get to rope for so much more money as a number 4 or number 5 or 6 than you do as a professional type.
Does he have a pony yet? Does he have goats to rope?
You know,
What's his?
The Bellanders from Nevada are great friends of ours. They give us a pony, and he was a little bit too much. I don't know if neither one of them was very advanced or if the pony was more advanced, but he wasn't quite ready for Silver yet.
Yeah.
So no, we're working on that.
And my kid is asking right now if she wants Tonto her pony. She's all in right now. She's all in on the pony thing, and
he got to go over to Ray, my wife, and Arena de la Cruz are friends, and they live not too far from us. So he got to go over and play with Caesar's kids, and they've got a really good little pony. And of course, they're not scared at all. And again, he learns by watching other kids. If they're not scared, he doesn't.
Yeah,
There's nothing to be scared of. He goes over there, and you could tell within, just 15 minutes, you can watch him grow as what bothers him and what doesn't. You know, so.
Let's take a break from this episode to thank our sponsors in Fastback Ropes. They just launched the Cobalt, their latest core rope. The Cobalt is similar in diameter to the popular Excalibur, and it will likely appeal to ropers who prefer more tip weight and less body or bounce. The combination of poly and dyed nylon has resulted in a highly durable rope. The goal is to build a rope that feels good and retains that great feel run after run. Plus, it's aqua blue by request of Fastback customers and endorsees for maximum visibility. The Cobalt starts shipping July 1st. And the head ropes will be 31 foot long and available in extra soft, and medium soft. And the Cobalt heel rope will be 35 foot and available in soft, medium, and hard medium. I want to circle back to something you said about, when you were heading for Corey, and then you headed for Ryan after Corey.
I headed for Corey, and then I roped with Caesar.
Mm-hmm. Caesar, that's
yeah. And
so,
then,
how you were? I vaguely remember you being pretty frustrated in that time period at the end of maybe roping with Caesar. That's kind of when you switched to healing the first time, or
when about halfway through, or kind of after the winter, I lost my good head horse when I roped with Corey.
Yeah.
And I had pieced together a couple, and I say pieced together, I had some good help finding them and everything, and had some good horses that just, you'd have to blame it on me. I didn't manage them very well, because when I got them, they worked great, and after, 4 4 or 5 months in the trailer, they were, a little droppy and just one thing after another. And so the head horse deal was extremely frustrating. And again, if you don't have a good head horse, and if I'm not doing my job, it makes it so much harder for my partner to do his job. And so I've never been one to really point fingers, because we're a team. He's just as, my partner, whoever it is, heading or heeling, is just as invested as I am. So I've never been one to, I guess, to point at my partner or think he's not doing his job or something, because it's a team. If this is a business, and if you take kind of your emotion or your feelings out of it, it's pretty simple. So how can we help each other? And if you can't help each other, or you're not working as a team, man, it's time to do something different.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And if you're not winning, you got to figure something out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was frustrating. And then you kind of, I don't want to say you feel the pressure, because my partners have all been great partners. I've been real fortunate that I've never roped with somebody who I thought was trashing me behind my back or telling other people or something.
Yeah.
Everybody I roped with has always been great, and I feel like we're open enough to discuss, hey, here's the problem, you know. And again, it's pretty simple to me. If I'm losing money, they're losing money. So you got to figure something out.
Yeah.
So
Do you find it easier to keep horsepower together when it comes to heel horses than head horses?
I think it is, but it kind of goes back to it. If your head horses, if you barely come out and he's just dropping, and the header just barely gets a dally, and that steer switches and he's real rough to come out of it, that makes the job harder on the heel horse. So horses, I mean, they can lose confidence just as easy as the people. If that horse is having to work extra hard or having trouble following them, that's it comes back to where, like, hey, this heel horse is not doing a very good job. Well, the head horse isn't making it very easy, So if you got a good head horse and those steers are true and real consistent through the turn, it's really easy for a heel horse to keep his confidence and to keep working sharp. If every time they turn him, it's like, man, I don't have a clue where he's going, it makes it hard for that heel horse, and then he's, I don't know, going to take the blame or whatever, but it doesn't matter what you have, they're gonna have trouble being confident and staying working good too, which it comes back to the head horse,
So you are now behind, you've been behind great head horses, but with JB.
With JB's, he's got several good ones, but the Dun horse transmission, I think again, this is strictly my opinion, but if he's not the best one, he's top 2 or 3 in the PRCA right now. That horse is great to follow. He's a freak. A lot of the horses that are that high powered, they require a lot of maintenance as far as, hey, they got to be rode down. You got to be handled there.
One way or another. Yeah.
The phenomenal rodeo horse sometimes is borderline crazy, and that horse is incredible. If he has a week off, man, you can get him out and go right to the roping, and it's like you just rode him yesterday. I truly believe that's a once-in-a-lifetime type of horse.
And for anybody who doesn't know what horse we're specifically, J.B. James's Dun horse transmission
Dun horse, yes.
that came from Jay. It was Jay's horse.
Yep, come from the Adams family.
Yeah.
And that horse has been won on from everything from Salinas to the small 4-second setups in Texas. He can kind of go anywhere. The BFI, and he stands out because he does have so much run, but he's also so quick-footed, he can be good at the short scored stuff as well.
And he's a half-brother to Rooster, right?
I believe so, yes.
Rooster's
Yes.
Patrick Smith that he bought from
I
the
believe
Adams
so.
as well.
Yep.
That's cool. And so what heel horses are in your string this year?
Right now I've got a horse that come off the Blackmore Ranch that belongs to Trey and Terry Blackmore. That's a really good horse, and David Blackmore. That's a really good horse. I've rode him most of the winter, and he's come along real good. I'm starting to get used to him, and he's kind of getting used to me. And then I've got a 13-year-old sorrel, and then I also have a 19-year-old horse that is, man, them old horses are hard to leave home just because there's no tricks to them. They've kind of seen everything and done everything. The only thing that concerns me about the old ones is some of them take the time in the trailer good and some don't. So as long as they hold up good in the trailer, I'm a fan of old horses.
Where did the 19-year-old come from? Is it one that you've had forever or one you just picked up?
He was actually a head horse that has kind of been around a little bit, and he was good to hit on. He just got to where he would duck so hard. And I got him probably 4 years ago, and I heeled on him for probably 2 or 3 years, and I sold him to a guy. And he gets fresh, even at 19, he gets fresh and be a little humpy, so he needs a little bit of riding.
Mm-hmm.
And I got him back this winter.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I've had him off and on, but for probably 3 or 4 years.
So did you liquidate head horses after last year?
I did. It didn't take very long. Horses were pretty decent, and for a decent head horse, it doesn't take long to sell them.
Yeah. Who has the one that you got from Blaster? That was a cool horse.
I sold that horse to Mike Grant.
Oh, awesome.
Yep, Mike Grant got him.
And Mike Grant is a really good home for any horse.
Oh, it's a great home. It's a great home, yeah.
That's a perfect deal. This year, what are you most looking forward to about rodeoing this year?
You know, I just like just to compete, I guess, and it's, like I said, I got a son that's 3, so you feel like there's a window of time when you can do it, and then you're going to have to make some decisions
Sure.
for your family on what you can and can't do, but my family gets to go, so I enjoy that, and get to have them with me. Feels like when I'm gone, we're all gone, and you don't have to be concerned about some of the stuff going on at home. So I just like that, and I like to compete, and I'm on a good team with JB. We get along great, and it's fun. I mean, you like to rope and win, but there is so much downtime that it helps to rope with somebody who you have stuff in common with and enjoy being around, because there's a lot of downtime, and you got to spend a lot of time with them.
And Fastback is sponsoring this episode, and they're your rope sponsor.
Yes, Fastback is incredible to work with. They're great people. I'll never forget, when I got on board with them, I went down to the factory there and kind of met everybody, and I bet I just got introduced, and it was probably maybe even 2 months later I went back, and when I walked in the door, the lady's receptionist said, "Hello, Brock," and it's like, how did you remember my name? Which I'm terrible with names anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So people who are good with them, I always notice it.
Yeah.
But and it's been like that since day one. You truly feel like you're part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great to work with.
Have you tried the new rope, the Cobalt, that they just announced yesterday?
I have. I got a handful of them shipped up here to Colorado last week. So I really like those.
Awesome.
I really like those. I think all the new core ropes, there's something for everybody. If you want a heavier one to a lighter one, kind of whatever, I think they've done a great job of getting them out, getting them started to fit kind of everybody's needs.
And what's going to be in your rope bag this summer?
I don't know. I'm bad to jump around. It's I don't have a set rope that, hey, I love this one, and it's like kind of whichever one I'm holding at the time is like, Yep, I like this one. And then, you especially heeling, you burn them up, and it's like, all right, time to get another one. Well, it's like whatever I grab, I'm like, yeah, I could use this. So I'm bad. I don't have a favorite, but I like them all. So I don't know what I'm going to have.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you all for listening to this episode of The Score. We'll be back next week with the short score, and we love it that you guys have listened. Remember, before you go, make sure you're subscribed to this so you get a notification on your phone. Subscribe in iTunes, subscribe in whatever channel you're listening to. Most of you are on iTunes. So you'll just hit that purple subscribe button, and you'll get notifications every time we have a new episode. We've got a lot of cool different things planned for the rest of the summer, and we don't want you to miss it. And while you're in there, leave us a review. Leave us however many stars you think we deserve. Helps other people find our podcast. It helps iTunes track it and know that people are listening to it and really enjoy it. And we sure appreciate all your comments. Thanks, everybody. I hope you guys are winning this weekend. Hope you're winning every weekend that you're open. Have a great week. All right, before we go, guys, I want to make sure you thank our sponsors at Fastback Ropes. They just came out with their new rope, the Cobalt, and definitely consider putting it in your rope bag for the rest of the summer. The Fastback Ropes supports what we do here, bringing more information to the team roping industry. That's going to maximize your time in the arena because you know more. And we just love partners that will support these kind of efforts because it's what grows the sport. And we can't thank Fastback Ropes enough. So everybody have a great summer, and we look forward to talking at you next week.